Leonardo da Vinci played an instrumental role in regards to the war between the Assassins and Templars during his life, and through it all he remained close and loyal to his friend Ezio. Today we will be exploring his whole story from his birth in 1452 until his death in 1519 at the age of 67, which is found in the comic titled Assassin's Creed Reflections. Leonardo was born in 1452 in the town of Vinci, just outside of Florence, as the illegitimate son of a Florentine notary, Piero da Vinci, and a local woman named Caterina. To avoid scandal, he spent much of his early childhood in the rural areas of Tuscany. Even at a young age, Leonardo's natural artistic talent was clear to those around him. When he was 14, he was brought back to Florence and apprenticed to the workshop of the renowned painter Andrea del Verrocchio. There he studied a wide range of subjects and worked along Verrocchio on the Baptism of Christ, one of the master's most famous works. By the age of 20, Leonardo had been recognised as a master by the Guild of St. Luke and opened his first workshop in Florence. During this period, he also became acquainted with the Auditore family, selling many of his paintings to them. Leonardo met Ezio when he accompanied his mother to collect several paintings from the workshop. Inside, the two talked about Leonardo's art and his interests beyond painting. Ezio later joked to his mother that Leonardo would never get very far, pointing out that he could barely keep his workspace organised. Ezio's mother, however, had complete confidence in Leonardo's future, repeatedly praising his talent and encouraging him to believe in himself. After their discussion, the three returned to the Palazzo Auditore, with Ezio and Leonardo carrying a box of the paintings to be displayed. Along the way, Ezio continued to tease Leonardo, but upon arriving at the palazzo, he realised how wrong his earlier judgment had been and acknowledged that Leonardo was someone worthy of respect. This meeting marked the beginning of a lifelong friendship between the two young men. After the execution of Giovanni, Federico and Petruccio Auditore, Leonardo met Ezio again, greeting him with a warm, brotherly embrace and offering his condolences for the loss of his family. Ezio soon asked Leonardo to repair the hidden blade he had inherited from his father. Leonardo was instantly captivated by the weapon's advanced and elegant design, noting that despite its age, it was far ahead of anything from their own time. At first, Leonardo was unsure how to repair it. However, he soon realised that the page from Altair's codex that Ezio had brought along could be decrypted and used as a guide. After several hours of careful work, Leonardo decoded the page and successfully repaired the blade using its instructions. When Ezio had fallen asleep during the process, Leonardo woke him and handed the blade back. With a playful sense of humour, Leonardo claimed that Ezio would have to have his ring finger removed, explaining that the blade is designed to ensure the commitment of whoever wields it. After pretending to amputate Ezio's finger as a joke, he revealed that the sacrifice was no longer necessary, thanks to the modifications made by Altair. Moments later, a Florentine guard arrived at Leonardo's workshop. Leonardo quickly told Ezio to hide and stepped outside to speak with the guard, who suspected that Leonardo had been in contact with Ezio, who was now a wanted fugitive. When Leonardo feigned ignorance, the guard attacked him, throwing him to the ground and kicking him in an attempt to force him to reveal Ezio's whereabouts. Ezio quietly approached from behind and tested his newly repaired hidden blade on the guard. At Leonardo's request, Ezio dragged the body inside the workshop and concealed it among the corpses Leonardo used for his anatomical studies. Leonardo and Ezio did not meet again until 1478. When Ezio returned with another codex page. While Leonardo deciphered the page, Ezio practiced new assassination techniques in the workshop courtyard, using straw dummies set up by one of Leonardo's students. Afterwards, Leonardo constructed a second hidden blade for Ezio. Following the collapse of the Pazzi conspiracy, Ezio visited Leonardo once more. Leonardo had been deeply concerned for his friend after witnessing the chaos unfolding across Florence, but his mood quickly lifted when Ezio presented yet another codex page. Leonardo was fascinated by the new blade design described in the codex, which allowed the wielder to inject poison into the enemies for a quieter, more subtle kill without compromising the weapon's structure. He completed the modification quickly and advised Ezio that if he ever ran out of poison, he should simply visit a doctor. When Ezio looked confused, Leonardo explained that many substances used to heal could also kill if taken in higher doses. In 1480, Leonardo received a commission from a Venetian noble who offered to transport him to Venice and provide him with a workshop there. While travelling to the ship that would take him to the city, Leonardo once again crossed paths with Ezio in the Apennine Mountains. Along the way, Leonardo ran into trouble when a wagon wheel broke. Unable to fix it himself, he was relieved when Ezio offered to lift the carriage so repairs could be made. As Ezio helped, he noticed a strange device inside of the wagon and questioned Leonardo about it, prompting the first conversation in which Leonardo mentioned his flying machine. Leonardo admitted that he had not shared the idea with anyone before, but said he could no longer keep it to himself. Amused and intrigued, Ezio offered to drive the wagon for both of them. As they set off toward Romagna, Leonardo jokingly pointed out that Ezio hadn't even asked where he was headed. Their journey quickly became dangerous when soldiers loyal to Rodrigo Borgia attacked them in the mountains. Ezio fought them off by steering the wagon into the soldiers and skillfully avoiding the flaming arrows fired in their direction. Throughout the chaos, Leonardo remained hidden inside the wagon. Once they reached the end of the trail, Ezio returned control of the carriage to him before jumping off to stay behind and deal with the soldiers, allowing Leonardo to continue safely toward Romagna. When Leonardo and Ezio arrived in Venice, they were given a tour of the city by a baggage handler named Alvise da Villandino, as they made their way to Leonardo's new workshop. Along the way, they passed through the Venetian market, where guards under the command of Emilio Barbarigo were harassing a store owner. Sensing trouble, Alvise quickly urged them to move on. As they continued, Leonardo stopped to admire a wooden mannequin designed to match human proportions, but realised he had no money to buy it. He asked Ezio to lend him some coins, only for a female thief to bump into Ezio and steal his money pouch in the process. Alvise then led them near the Palazzo della Seta, where they saw the same store owner approach the guards to demand compensation. Instead of helping him, the guards arrested the man for disrupting commerce. Eventually, Leonardo and Ezio reached the workshop, where they parted with a brotherly embrace. In 1485, Ezio sought out Leonardo again, this time for a different reason. He questioned Leonardo about the flying machine, hoping to use it to infiltrate the Palazzo Ducale di Venezia and rescue Doge Giovanni Mocenigo from the Templar Carlo Grimaldi. Leonardo was hesitant, worried about the risks if the machine failed, especially since that testing it would require someone to jump from a tower. Despite his concerns, Ezio insisted. After one failed test flight, Leonardo declared the design a failure, and in frustration, threw the plans into the fire. As the burnt scraps of paper drifted upward on the heat of the flames, Leonardo had a sudden insight. He realised that by lighting several fires across the city, the rising air could keep the flying machine aloft over a longer distance. Antonio volunteered to have his men light the fires, giving Ezio the chance to stop the Doge's assassination. In 1486, after failing to stop the Doge's assassination and being accused of his murder, Ezio turned to Leonardo for help, asking him to create a Carnevale mask so he could move through the city unnoticed. Ezio also brought along another codex page, which immediately caught Leonardo's attention. As he studied it, Leonardo discovered designs for a compact firearm that could be hidden on Ezio's wrist. After Ezio tested the new pistol, Leonardo handed over the mask and directed him to Antonio and Teodora, knowing that they could help Ezio plan the assassination of the new Doge, the Templar Marco Barbarigo. Just before the Doge's celebration began, Leonardo spotted Cristina Vespucci, someone he recognised as a former guest of one of his patrons, attending the Carnevale with her husband. He mentioned her presence to Ezio but warned that it might not be wise to approach her while she was with her husband. Confident that the mask would hide his identity, Ezio ignored the advice and went to see her anyway. On Ezio's 29th birthday in 1488, he met with Leonardo at the Basilica di San Marco, shortly after learning that a Templar ship was due to return to Venice the following day. During their meeting, Leonardo shared several important insights he had uncovered by piecing together the symbols on the back of the codex pages. Among them was a reference to the arrival of a prophet on the same day the Peace of Eden was first brought to Venice. Later that year, Ezio returned to see Leonardo, this time accompanied by his uncle Mario and Niccolo Machiavelli, hoping he could help them understand the Apple of Eden. Even Leonardo, however, was unable to fully explain the artifact. Leonardo warned that the apple must never fall into the wrong hands, as it could easily drive weaker minds insane. The group agreed that the safest option was to take it to Forli, a heavily fortified city ruled by their ally, Caterina Sforza. As they parted ways, Mario invited Leonardo to visit them at the Villa Auditore in Monteriggioni. Sometime in the late 1480s, Ezio asked Leonardo to draw a map leading to a hidden vault in Venice for a fellow assassin named Giulia. When she visited his workshop to collect it, Leonardo handed over the map but was too busy with other commissions to answer her questions. Even so, Giulia thanked him, confident that the map alone would be enough to help her find the vault, and then left. In 1489, Leonardo gifted a series of paintings known as the Celestial Mysteries to the Spanish Thieves Guild, longtime allies of the assassins. The guild's leader, Lupo Galejo, passed the artwork onto a nobleman and business associate, Jaime Del Reyda, hoping he could sell the paintings and use the profits to help fund the fight against the Templars. Unfortunately, the plan went wrong when Jaime carelessly gambled the paintings away during a card game, losing them to Inquisition captain Diego de Burgos. De Burgos then split the artwork among his subordinates. Embarrassed by Jamie's mistakes, Lupo sought the help of the Spanish assassin Brotherhood, who infiltrated the homes and hideouts of de Burgos' men and successfully recovered the paintings. Leonardo eventually accepted Mario's invitation to stay at the Villa Auditore, where he lived until 1499. During this period, he became fascinated with the ideas of Pythagoras, the Greek mathematician from the 6th century BCE, especially the mystery surrounding the location of the Temple of Pythagoras. Using his findings, Leonardo created a map marking the temple's position in Rome and cleverly concealed fragments of it in invisible ink across 7 of his paintings displayed throughout the villa. In late 1499, Leonardo was forced into the service of the Borgias after Rodrigo Borgia became pope. Under pressure, he created pistols for Rodrigo's son, Cesare Borgia, the general of the Papal army. These firearms were issued to the Papal Guard, and Cesare himself used one to kill Mario Auditore during the siege of Montevigione. During the same conflict, Cesare recovered the Apple of Eden and briefly handed it to Leonardo in hopes that he could unlock its secrets. While Leonardo studied the artifact, the Pope reclaimed it. Leonardo was also tasked with designing war machines for Cesare's campaigns during the Italian wars. Despite this, he remained loyal to the assassins, secretly meeting with Ezio to pass along information about Cesare's plans. Leonardo provided Ezio with the locations of the Templars overseeing his war machines and asked him to destroy them. To avoid Templar suspicion, Leonardo and Ezio arranged to meet at changing locations, marked only by a small drawing of a hand on a bench, to signal where Ezio should wait. During these meetings, Leonardo agreed to rebuild a smaller hidden blade that could be worn with a standard glove, replacing the one Ezio lost during the fall of Montevigione. He also provided a reinforced glove that allowed Ezio to perform the climb leap, along with a forearm mounted poison dart launcher. However, because the Templars paid him very little, Leonardo asked Ezio to cover the costs of the raw materials up front. Leonardo also supported Ezio's apprentices by supplying them with the same tools and weapons he had made for Ezio. Francesco Vecellio in particular was fascinated by Leonardo, describing him as a strange man, more interested in art and invention than politics. Since Ezio forbade Vecellio from using the hidden gun, Leonardo instead created the hidden bolt, a silent weapon that fired a concealed bolt. During one of their secret meetings, Ezio asked Leonardo more about Cesare and his ambition to conquer Italy. Leonardo shared what he knew of Cesare's rise to power, including the murder of his younger brother Juan Borgia and his betrayal of the 3 mercenary generals. In 1502, Leonardo was invited to Constantinople by Ottoman Sultan Bayezid II to present a design for a bridge spanning a 250-metre section of the Golden Horn. After reviewing the plans, however, the Sultan deemed the project too ambitious and ultimately gave up on the idea. In late 1503, after the assassins finally secured the Apple of Eden from the Borgias, Ezio and Leonardo met at the assassin headquarters on Tiber Island. While there, Leonardo expressed sorrow over the decision to seal away the apple, comparing it to a great masterpiece being hidden from the world. At the same time, Leonardo's patron had been arrested and his finances remained unstable. Recognising his friend's situation, Ezio offered him a sum of money to help him get by. The two parted on warm terms, though Leonardo firmly refused to accept the money if it was meant as a farewell rather than simple assistance. While in Florence, Leonardo once visited the Basilica di Santa Croce to meet with a friend. Before long, however, he sensed that something was wrong, noticing several suspicious civilians shadowing his movements. Remembering a signal that Ezio had taught him, Leonardo discreetly summoned an assassin on nearby watch duty, Lo Sparviero, who began following a short distance behind him. As he followed Leonardo, Lo Sparviero used his heightened perception to identify a man stalking the inventor. The assassin swiftly eliminated the would-be attacker and immediately escorted Leonardo to safety. Along the way, several corrupt Medici guards attempted to arrest Leonardo, but Lo Sparviero neutralized them, ensuring the inventor escaped without harm. In 1505, Leonardo was unknowingly targeted by assassins in the employ of Pope Julius II. Having learned of Leonardo's previous work as a military engineer for the Borgia, the Pope sought to deprive them of his brilliance by eliminating him. Fortunately, Ezio discovered the plot and intercepted the assassins before they could reach Leonardo. Later, when Ezio went to Leonardo's workshop to warn him of the failed attempt on his life, he found the inventor deeply absorbed in what would become his most famous work, the Mona Lisa, a portrait of the noble woman Lisa del Giocondo. Leonardo was so focused that he failed to notice Ezio's arrival. Lisa, however, recognised Ezio, having secretly met him the year before, and greeted him with a subtle smile. Leonardo, seeing the expression, asked her to hold it for the painting. Choosing not to interrupt his friend, Ezio signalled for Lisa to remain silent and quietly departed. Not long after this incident, Julius II chose to make use of Leonardo's talents rather than oppose them, employing him as his personal military engineer. Around this time, Leonardo began openly discussing his ties to the assassins and the pieces of Eden with his apprentice, Salai, unaware that the young man would later relay this information to the Pope. Ultimately, Leonardo's carelessness proved beneficial, as Julius II would go on to become an ally of the assassins after meeting with Ezio. When Leonardo returned to Rome in 1506, he came into contact with the court of Hermes and began frequenting the private library of their leader, Ercole Massimo. There he continued his research into Pythagoras and learned of the philosopher's connections to the pieces of Eden and the first civilization that had created them. In time, Leonardo was kidnapped by the Hermeticists, who sought him to force him to reveal the location of the Temple of Pythagoras. Upon learning of Leonardo's abduction, Ezio and Salai set out to recover Leonardo's paintings that had been seized by the Borgia during the fall of Monteriggioni. Leonardo had left behind a clue in his workshop, indicating that a map was hidden within the artwork. Using his eagle vision, Ezio pieced the map together after reclaiming all the paintings, ultimately uncovering the location of the temple. By then, Leonardo had been taken into the catacombs leading to the temple, where he was interrogated. Ezio eventually caught up with them, killing the Hermeticists, including Ercole, and rescuing Leonardo. Despite the injuries he had suffered during the ordeal, Leonardo insisted that they venture deeper into the catacombs together to explore the temple itself. They eventually arrived at the final chamber, where Ezio recognised the architecture as that of a surviving structure built by the first civilization. When Ezio's DNA resonated with a pedestal and revealed what appeared to be coordinates, he chose to leave them untouched, believing it was safer not to pursue the knowledge further. Though Leonardo was eager to continue exploring, Ezio gently redirected his attention by asking about his future plans, and the two of them spoke as they made their way out of the temple together. After his rescue, Leonardo travelled with Niccolo Machiavelli and Ezio to Spain in pursuit of Micheletto Corella, hoping to prevent him from freeing Cesare Borgia. The journey proved exhausting, involving treacherous seas, a violent tavern skirmish, long rides on horseback, and even the construction of explosives along the way. Leonardo ultimately decided he had endured enough of travelling and fighting. He returned to Rome, leaving Ezio and Niccolo behind with a supply of handheld bombs he crafted for them. Following Cesare's death, Leonardo reunited with Ezio and Niccolo at Ezio's 48th birthday celebration. During the gathering, Ezio offered Leonardo a place within the Assassin Order. Leonardo respectfully declined, explaining that while he admired and supported the Assassin's cause, he wished to walk a different path, one he described as a solitary one. Shortly thereafter, Leonardo departed for Milan, from where he would later travel to Amboise, France. Leonardo spent his final years in France, living in a residence granted to him by King Francis I, who became both a generous patron and a close friend. When he retired to France in 1513, Leonardo brought with him his most celebrated work, the Mona Lisa. By 1519, Leonardo's health had severely declined, leaving him bedridden and reliant on a servant to bring him food. Aware that his life was nearing its end, he wrote to Niccolo, describing his worsening condition and inviting both Niccolo and Ezio to visit him at his home in Amboise. In late April, Leonardo was surprised when Ezio secretly entered his room to visit him. The two old friends embraced warmly, and Ezio informed Leonardo that Niccolo would arrive the following day. To lift his spirits, Ezio recounted his brief past romance with Lisa del Giocondo, the woman who had inspired Leonardo's Mona Lisa years earlier. After finishing the story, Ezio realised that Leonardo had fallen asleep. He gently kissed his friend's head and promised to return before the end, then slipped away just moments before Leonardo's servant, Etienne, entered the room to check on him. Ezio and Niccolo remained in France for an entire week, visiting Leonardo frequently. During these meetings, Leonardo spoke eagerly of his unfulfilled dreams, including a desire to travel beyond his estate to places such as England, where he hoped to present his submarine design to King Henry VIII. Leonardo ultimately passed away on 2nd of May with Ezio and Niccolo at his side. Shortly after they departed from Amboise, rumours began to circulate claiming that Leonardo had died in the arms of King Francis I. Ezio was deeply disgusted by the story, remarking that some people, even kings, would do anything for publicity. Leonardo is by far one of the most memorable and humble characters in the entire series, and the part that he plays in the narrative is always something I like to revisit. I hope you enjoyed the video, thank you for watching and have a great day.